Hello everyone, Pia here. And we are now on to chapter 2 of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Production log entry 1. Interview with Ravi Singh, booked in for Friday afternoon. Take prepared questions. Type up transcript of interview with Angela Johnson. The production log is intended to chart any obstacles you face in your research, your progress and aims of your final report. My production log will have to be a little different. I'm going to record all the research I do here, both relevant and irrelevant, because as yet I don't really know what my final report will be, nor what will end up being relevant. I don't know what I'm aiming for. I will just have to wait and see what position I am in the end of my research and what essay I can therefore bring together. This is starting to feel a little like a diary. I'm hoping it will not be the essay I proposed to Miss Morgan. I'm hoping it will be the truth. What really happened to Andy Bell on the 20th April 2012? And, as my instincts tell me, if Sal Singh is not guilty, then who killed her? I don't think I will actually solve the case and discover the person who murdered Andy. I'm not a police officer with the access to forensic labs, obviously, and I'm also not deluded. But I'm hoping that my research will uncover facts and accounts that will lead to reasonable doubt about Sal's guilt, and suggest that the police were mistaken in closing the case without digging further. So my research methods will actually be interviewing those close to the case, obsessive social media stalking, and wild speculation. Don't let Miss Morgan see any of this. The first stage in this project then is to research what happened to Andrea Bell, known as Andy to everyone, and the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. This information will be taken from news articles and police press conferences from around that time. Write your references in now so you don't have to do it later. Copied and pasted from the first national news outlet to report on her disappearance. Andrea Bell, 17, was reported missing from her home in Little Kilton, Buckinghamshire, last Friday. She left home in her car, a black Peugeot 206, with her mobile phone, but did not take any clothes with her. Police say her disappearance is completely out of character. Police have been searching woodland near the family home over the weekend. Andrea, known as Andy, is described as white, 5 feet 6 inches tall, with long blonde hair. It is thought that she was wearing dark jeans and a blue cropped jumper on the night she went missing. After everything happened, later articles had more detail as to when Andy was last seen alive, and the time window in which she is believed to have been abducted. Andy Bell was last seen alive by her younger sister Becca at around 10:30 p.m. on the 20th of April, 2012. This was corroborated by the police in a press conference on Tuesday, 24th April. CCTV footage taken from a security camera outside STN Bank on Little Kilton High Street confirms that Andy's car was seen driving away from her home at about 10:40 p.m. According to her parents, Jason and Dawn Bell, Andy was supposed to pick them up from a dinner party at 12:45 a.m. When Andy didn't show up or answer any of their phone calls, they started ringing her friends to see if anyone knew of her whereabouts. Jason Bell called the police to report his daughter missing at 3 a.m. Saturday morning. So whatever happened to Andy Bell that night happened between 10:40 p.m. and 12:45 a.m. Here's some good place to type up the transcript from my telephone interview yesterday with Angela Johnson. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all news outlets. Transcripts of interview with Angela Johnson from the Missing Persons Bureau. Angela. Hello. Pip. Hi, is this Angela Johnson? Angela. Speaking. Yep. Is this Pip? Yes. Thanks so much for replying to my email. No problem. Do you mind if I record this interview so I can type it up later to use in my project? Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry I've only got about 10 minutes to give you. So what do you want to know about missing persons? Well, I was wondering if you could talk me through what happened when someone is reported missing, what the process and the first steps taken by the police. Angela. So when someone rings 999 or 101 to report someone as missing, the police will try to get as much detail as possible so they can identify the potential risk to the missing person, and an appropriate police response can be made. The kinds of detail they will ask for in this case in the first call are name, age, description of the person, what clothes they were last seen wearing, the circumstances of their disappearance, if going missing is out of character for this person, details of any vehicle involved. Using this information, the police will determine whether this is a high, low, or medium risk case, and what circumstances would make a case high risk. If they are vulnerable because of their age or disability, that would be high risk. If the behavior is out of character, then it is likely an indicator that they have been exposed to harm, so that would be high risk. Pip. So if the missing person is 17 years old and it is deemed out of character for her to go missing, would this be considered a high risk case? Oh, absolutely, if a minor is involved. So how would the police respond to a high risk case? Well, there would be immediate deployment of police officers to the location of the person is missing from. The officer will have to acquire further details about the missing person, such as details of their friends or partners, any health conditions, their financial information in case they can be found when trying to withdraw money. They will also need a number of recent photographs of the person, and in a high-risk case, they might take DNA samples in case they are needed in subsequent forensic examination. And with consent of the homeowners, the location will be searched thoroughly to see if the missing person is concealed or hiding there, and to establish whether there are any further evidential leads. That's the normal procedure. Pip. So immediately, the police are looking for any clues or suggestions that the missing person has been the victim of a crime. Angela. Absolutely. If the circumstances of the disappearance are suspicious, officers are always told, if in doubt, think murder. Of course, only a very small percentage of missing person cases turn into homicide cases, but officers are instructed to document evidence early on as though they were investigating a homicide. And after the initial home address search, what happens if nothing significant turns up? They will expand the search to the immediate area. They might request telephone information. They'll question friends, neighbors, anyone who may have relevant information. If it is a young person, a teenager who's missing, a reporting parent cannot be assumed to know all of their child's friends and acquaintances. Their peers are a good port of call to establishment. Their peers are a good port of call to establish other important contacts, any secret boyfriends, that sort of thing. And a press strategy is usually discussed because appeals for information in the media can be very useful in this situation. Pip. So if a 17-year-old girl who's gone missing, the police would have contacted her friends and boyfriend quite early on. Angela. Yes, of course. Inquiries will be made because if the missing person has run away, they are likely to be hiding out with a person close to them. At what point in a missing person's case do police accept they are looking for a body? Well, time-wise, it's not, oh, Pippa, I have to go. Sorry, I've been called into my meeting. Oh, okay. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me. And if you have any more questions, just pop me an email and I'll get them to you when I can. Will do. Thanks again. Bye. I found these statistics online. 80% of missing people are found in the first 24 hours. 97% are found in the first week. 99% of cases are resolved in the first year. That leaves just 1%. 1% of people who disappear are never found. But there's another figure to consider. Just 0.25% of all missing person cases have fatal outcome. And where does this leave Andy Bell? Floating incessantly somewhere between 1% and 0.25%, fractionally increasing and decreasing in tiny decimal breaths. But by now, most people accept that she's dead, even though her body has never been recovered. And why is that? Sal Singh is why. Chapter 2. Pip's hands strayed from the keyboard, her index fingers hovering over the W and H, as she strained to listen to the commotion downstairs. A crash, heavy footsteps skidding, claws, and unrestrained boyish giggles. In the next seconds, it all becomes clear. Joshua! Why is the dog wearing one of my shirts? Came Victor's buoyant shout, the sound floating up through Pip's carpet. Pip snort laughed as she clicked save on her production log, and closed the lid of her laptop. It was a time-honored daily crescendo from the moment her dad returned from work. He was never quiet. His whispers could be heard across the room, his whooping knee-slap laugh so loud it could actually make people flinch. And every year, without fail, Pip woke to the sound of him tiptoeing the upstairs corridor to deliver Santa's stockings on Christmas Eve. Her stepdad was the living adversary of subtlety. Downstairs, Pip found the scene mid-production. Joshua was running from room to room, from the kitchen to the hallway and into the living room on repeat, cackling as he went. Close behind was Barney, the golden retriever, wearing Pip's dad's loudest shirt, the blindingly green patterned one he'd bought during their last trip to Nigeria. The dog skidded elatedly across the polished oak in the hall, excitement whistling through his teeth. And bringing up the rear was Victor in his gray Hugo Boss three-piece suit, charging all 6.5 feet of himself after the dog and the boy, his laugh in wild climbing scale bursts. Their very own Amobi homemade Scooby-Doo montage. "Oh my God, I was trying to do homework," Pip said, smiling as she jumped back to avoid being mowed down by the convoy. Barney stopped for a moment to headbutt her shin, and then scarped off to jump on Dad and Josh as they collapsed together on the sofa. "Hello, Pickle," Victor said, patting the sofa beside him. "Hi, Dad. You were so quiet I didn't even know you were home." "My Pipsicle, you are too clever to recycle a joke." She sat down next to them, Josh and her dad's worn-out breaths making the sofa cushion swell and sink against the back of her legs. Josh started excavating in his right nostril, and Dad batted his hand away. "How were your days, then?" he asked, setting Josh off on a graphic spiel about the football games he'd played earlier. Pip zoned out. She'd already heard it all in the car when she picked Josh up from the club. She'd only been half listening, distracted by the way the replacement coach had stared bewilderedly at her lily-white skin when she'd pointed out which of the 9-year-olds was hers and said, "I'm Joshua's sister." She should have been used to it by now, the lingering looks while people tried to work out the logistics of her family. The numbers had words scribbled across their family tree. The giant Nigerian man was quite evidently her stepfather, and Joshua her half-brother. But Pip didn't like using those words, those cold technicalities. The people you love were in algebra, to be calculated, subtracted, or held at arm's length across a decimal point. Victor and Josh weren't just 3/8 hers, not just 40% family. They were fully hers. Her dad and her annoying little brother. Her real father, the man that lent the Fitz to her name, died in a car accident when she was 10 months old. And though Pip sometimes nodded and smiled when her mum would ask whether she remembered the way her father hummed while he brushed his teeth, or how he'd laugh when Pip's second spoken word was poo, she didn't remember him. But sometimes remembering isn't for yourself. Sometimes you do it just to make someone else smile. Those lies were allowed. "And how's the project going, Pip?" Victor turned to her as he unbuttoned the shirt from the dog. "It's okay," she said. "I'm just looking up the background and typing up at the moment. I did go to see Ravi sing this morning." "Oh, and?" "He was busy, but he said I could come back on Friday." "I wouldn't," Josh said in a cautionary tone. "That's because you're a judgmental prepubescent boy who still thinks little people live inside traffic lights." Pip looked at him. "The Sings haven't done anything wrong." Her dad stepped in. "Joshua, try to imagine if everyone judged you because of something your sister had done." "All Pip ever does is homework." Pip executed a perfect arm swing cushion lob into Joshua's face. Victor held the boy's arms down as he squirmed to retaliate, tickling his ribs. "Why is Mum not back yet?" asked Pip, teasing the restrained Josh by floating her fluffy socked foot near his face. "She was going straight from work to Buzzy's mom's book club," Dad said. "Meaning? We can have pizza for dinner?" Pip asked, and suddenly the friendly fire was forgotten and she and Josh were in the same battalion again. He jumped up and hooked his arm through hers, looking imploringly at their dad. "Of course," Victor said, patting his backside with a grin. "How else am I going to keep growing this junk in my trunk?" "Dad," Pip groaned, admonishing her past self for ever teaching him that phrase. All right, that is chapter 2. Have fun. Hope to see you all next time. Please hit that subscribe button.